Welcome to the Bookish Spell, your cozy corner for all things bookish. I'm Angie, your host, and each week I'll be diving into the magical world of books, sharing reviews, author interviews, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so grab a cup of coffee and get ready to turn the page with me.
Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your book?
Within Fields and Flowers is a second chance small town romance that follows a girl named Charlotte as she returns to her hometown for the first time in 8 years. It's a month after her father's death, and she's there to clean out the family estate and sell it. And naturally, because the universe is funny and karma sucks, the first person that she runs into is her ex, who broke her heart the summer before college. Yeah.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting.
She definitely has adventure with it. I think the book really focuses on living after loss and coping with grief and figuring out kind of how to be happy at that point in your life.
Right. Oh, wow, that sounds beautiful. So what initially inspired you to write this?
Well, I actually used to be a teacher, and one day during break, me and my friends started talking about, well, what if I wrote a book, and what if we made it what I wanted in like my perfect book? And it was all a joke. It was all just a lighthearted joke. And then I ended up quitting that job, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write that book. I'm gonna do it.
Oh, I'm glad you did, because I'm sure you feel like it's a great big accomplishment to have your book out and published. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. It feels surreal. It feels insane.
Yeah. It's funny the way you kind of interpreted that, because just last week I was recording an episode with somebody else, and we was talking about like old novels, classics, and not many people really know, but Frankenstein was written by Mary Shelley. She wrote that out of fun, just for like they had a competition of who could just write a story. It was purely just for a joke, and it turned into Frankenstein that we all know today, which is crazy.
That is insane. I could never imagine that book being a joke.
It's a joke, but it's actually really like, I never read the book, but maybe one day. I mean, we all seen the movies. She wrote that book because her child passed away, so it was about bringing like her child back to life.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Right? Like, it's such a different, like, shifts your perspective totally different on Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it just made me think about that, just the way you said it, as you kind of always just joking with like to write a book that you would like to read, but there you have, you turned it, you joke into something real.
Yeah, whenever I finished it, I told her, I was like, hey, so you know that joke that we made last year of me writing that book? Well, it's done.
What was her reaction?
She was so confused.
That's funny.
She was really happy for me, so I appreciated that. And she was very excited to read it.
Oh, beautiful. So when was your book released?
My book came out almost a week ago, actually. It came out on the 18th.
Oh, right. I think I remember us discussing that. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
To read it soon. Yeah, no problem. That's pretty big accomplishment. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process?
Yeah. So originally when I started, I wrote one scene that I wanted to happen that I thought was just funny, and the banter was there, and I wrote it all out. Actually in my notes app on my phone. And once I got that, the rest of it just kind of happened. I kind of puzzle pieced the story around that one scene with Post-it notes on my dining room wall.
Oh, wow.
And so I had specific scenes that I knew I need this to happen. It has to be in the story. And I would write those. And then once I had all of those done, I went back and filled in the blanks from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, the rest was just editing and making sure everything was right. Oh my God.
So that's pretty interesting because I'm actually a bit curious. This leads me to ask you, did you plan to write it that way, or this is something that just kind of happened?
It just happened. I looked on the internet a lot on like how to write a book, how to write a novel, how to outline a book, and everything I tried, it just didn't come naturally. So I ended up puzzle piecing it together, and it really flowed a lot easier than I was expecting it to.
That's good advice. I mean, and the reason I was asking because I read somewhere on the internet that with J.K. Rowling, she actually wrote the last scene of the last book in Harry Potter before she wrote Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, that
So
I've used that method kind of with a romantasy project that I'm working on.
yeah. Oh, nice. That's what's going to be my next question. If you're working on anything else.
Yeah, right now I'm actively writing the second book in the Crooked River series.
Nice.
Yeah. And then after that will be the third book, but I have some ideas and kind of a plot for a romantasy once Crooked River meets its end.
Nice. So I feel like that way of just like creating a scene or maybe a plot or what you want to happen and then building around it. I could kind of feel that being a little bit easier because it kind of gives you like maybe like a road to follow.
Yeah, and I think whenever I wrote that first scene, I think I kind of taught myself who my characters were and what their personalities were within that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easier to introduce them.
Right. I love it. It's really a little bit more different writing than people I've spoken to previously, but I really like that kind of thought process. Are there any courses, videos, articles, maybe even books that you would recommend for inspiring writers to read or, learn from?
I would say read your genre. Whatever you're writing, read it. It's the best way to see what people want because especially as an indie author, one of the major factors to your success is marketing. How well can you convince people to read your book when you're not on a shelf in a store, in like a major store? And one thing that really helped me whenever I was stumped or there was a scene that I felt like I could not put into words, I would read books that were like my book, that were my genre, and it would kind of help me figure out what I needed. And also, a lot of great writing comes from great books. So if you read great books and you get those words in your head, it's kind of easier to make them come out.
Okay, interesting. All right. And do you have like a specific like writing routine or habits that help you stay productive?
I do. I write every day. It's 100 words or 1,000 words. I write every single day.
Nice.
And sometimes if I feel like I'm falling behind, I'll set a goal and be like, okay, I need to write 3,000 words today. That needs to happen.
You're so motivated. That's
really and truly, I'm just bored. I sit and I'm like, I need something to do.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a really nice thought process. Are you having that ability to do that? Because I know a lot of people do struggle with that. So I feel like that could be really motivating to some people to hear.
Yeah, I have the amazing support from my husband.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, he works so that I can stay home and do this. So that's nice. I don't have to worry about like a 9 to 5 and then writing being
great. Yeah, that is great. You write full time. So that's beautiful.
It
Um,
definitely helps.
yeah, definitely. When did you start writing?
Shockingly, I started writing within Fields and Flowers October 7th.
This year?
Yep.
Wow, girl, that's impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really nice.
Yeah, it was, like I said, once I got into it,
Well,
it happened.
wow, amazing. All right. Do you have like a special way, or how do you approach developing like your characters? Are you inspired by people that you know? I feel like developing characters, especially side characters, it's always like a really big struggle.
Yeah, it's so difficult for me to write their dialogue and try to think inside each person's head, like what would they say to this? Not what would I say.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things like little Easter eggs and details within Fields and Flowers that are from my life, and
Oh,
my family's traditions and my connections with people.
mm-hmm. It's
Um,
beautiful.
I really like it a lot because I felt like I got to put a part of myself into that book.
Mm-hmm.
So I genuinely, when I was writing the characters, I was like, I want her to be quiet because I am loud. So whenever there's something that I would say, I make her say it in her head.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it goes along, she gets more vocal. She gets more comfortable speaking her mind.
Right, right. Okay. All right. And have you ever faced writer's block? And if so, how do you overcome it?
I have with the second book. The first book was really, I think I blacked out during that whole process. But the second book has got me stumped.
Yeah.
And I read the genre. I watch the little rom-coms. But I
Mhm.
also, if I feel like I am at my wit's end and I don't know what to do, I will just take a break. I disconnect. I don't even step into my office. I watch a movie that's like completely opposite of my genre and completely break off. And
Mhm. I feel like that's pretty good advice for somebody going through writer's block because that saying that it's like a super old saying, like even like too much of a good thing can be a bad thing for you. So even if it's something that you truly love doing it 24/7, I can imagine it get a little sickening. So taking that break when you're having writer's block and doing something totally different, which I feel is actually really good advice, maybe gives you that like emotion to like miss writing, and in that way you kind of overcome writer's block.
yeah, and I also I try sometimes different little writing activities where I have these little sticks that are like, it's a box that says Spark Romance, and I found it at Barnes and Noble. And each
Mm,
stick inside the box is like a match. It looks like a match, and it
mm,
has a different activity to do with your partner. So
mm.
sometimes I'll pull a stick from there and just write the scene, and
Oh,
just
that's a good
let it,
idea.
just as like a little writing activity. And sometimes
Oh,
it makes it in the book, and sometimes it doesn't.
girl, that is such a good idea.
It's I like it a lot. I think it's a good way to kind of get the fluff out and just write for fun and not feel that pressure.
Right, right. So, what did you do before you became a writer?
I was a 4K teacher.
Oh, a teacher. Okay, so like, yeah, it makes sense why you're coming up with some good ideas. And then my other question to you: have you ever thought about writing? Like even before you started, like was that ever something that came across your mind?
Yeah, I loved writing as a kid, and when I was
Right.
in middle school,
Mhm.
I printed like 20 copies of this poetry book that I wrote. It,
Oh,
looking back, it's horrible, but It was
Still.
always something that had been in the back of my mind, but I didn't think it could ever happen. So it was like, well, if I can't do that, I'll do this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was cute. And
It,
how old was you when you printed them out?
I think I was 12.
Oh my goodness. 12-year-old's kind of small to actually like a young to be able to comprehend writing poetry. So wow.
I was in the 7th grade, so I think I was 12 or 13, and
Wow.
I entered a poetry contest
Wow.
in my state, and it won. And so they printed like all of the winners' poems in a book, and me needing to feel special, I was like, no, I want my own book. So
I
I
love
one that was all just my poetry, and the cover of it was literally a piece of printer paper that I had just doodled all over.
wow.
It was a mess, but it was my mess.
I mean, still that's like a big achievement for doing that and coming up with the idea to create your own book cover at such a young age. It's actually a little bit like amazing little story to tell. You were always meant to be a writer.
That's how it feels now that I'm doing it. I feel like I can't imagine doing
Right.
anything else.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Okay. Now, my next question for you is there any or what authors or books have influenced your writing style? People tend to like to read a book when they know it's kind of similar to something that they already know and love. So is there any books that it's kind of similar or what helped inspire you?
Let me think. So I drew a lot of inspiration from Final Offer by I think Lauren Asher,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where it was kind of this tense but sweet longing for a person that you used to love,
Mm.
and having to walk away and having to separate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the spice in it has been an accumulation of a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say the Final Offer by Lauren Asher was definitely my biggest inspiration within Fields and Flowers. It's not as tense, it's not as emotional.
Right.
It's kind of like the light, fluffy sister.
Right. So is your book spicy?
It is. It has a couple of scenes in it that I am very proud of.
Good job. I mean, I can imagine that must be difficult to write and put on paper and print it, you know?
It felt weird at first. It
Mm.
felt like it felt like I was doing something wrong. I was doing
Mm-hmm.
something I shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then after the first one, the rest of it the rest of it flowed. But it wasn't until I had an ARC reader tell me that that they enjoyed it that I
Nice.
was like, okay, yeah, so this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, good. See, that was great that you got that feedback. That was actually my next question to you, is if you can share any memorable feedback you got on your work.
I had one of my ARC readers. I don't know why it made me laugh so hard, but I had one of my ARC readers tell me, I read your book in 3 hours and
Wow.
I could not put it down.
Oh my goodness.
And she is married, she works and goes to school and has a child. So her texting me that, I just started laughing immediately. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, there we go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think that was me. I was asking how many pages is in your book.
It if I remember right, it's sitting at 237.
Mm. Oh wow. That's a pretty decent number of pages to finish in 3 hours.
I know. I don't know how she did it, especially with a husband and kids and all that. I don't understand.
Honestly, that was amazing. Like a compliment.
Really, it
Like
was.
really prioritized it. Yeah. That
I've
was
had
cool.
I had one girl who messaged me and she said she emailed her review back. She was an art reader, and she said the only problem I have with this book is that I want more.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's amazing feedback, girl.
It shocked me. I was kind of expecting everyone to be like, this is light work, this is amateur, but they liked it, and I'm not gonna argue with them.
So then let me ask you this. While you were writing, did you have the thought of like trashing it anytime or like nobody's gonna want to read it? Or did
I
you
have
just
a
go,
feeling of
mm,
like, holy crap, people are gonna read this. Like, this isn't just a joke anymore.
mm,
But I never thought about scrapping it.
that's good.
The second book I want to scrap on a daily basis. I want to throw it across the room. But the first book is my pride and joy.
It was like yeah, well that's amazing. So there's another author I talked with. She wrote Away with Darkness, and she wrote her book kind of quickly, like kind of like you did with your first book. She didn't really experience any writer's block. It's like, she had a story in her head and she needed to get it out. So she wrote it with ease, and it was like, like in the episode, she's talking about like, wow, this is so easy. Like, I don't know what people complain about, kind of an energy she was feeling. Why do
Mm-hmm.
people complain that writing's hard? But now she's writing the second book, and it's taking her so long to write it. I think she just finished it. She texted me the other day. She just finished writing it all. Now she got to edit it, but she went like weeks without writing. She felt writer's block. Now she's feeling exactly what it feels to be a writer. So I feel like it's kind of normal to be where you're at right now.
Yeah, I think the first book gave me a false sense of hope, like a false sense of reality.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's what most authors say when they release their first book.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? Anna Huang. She is pushing books out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know how.
Have you read any of her books? I haven't.
Yeah, her Twisted series, Twisted Love, Lies, Games. Hey,
Yeah.
that was one of the series that got me back into reading.
Really?
I love that series, and I have like read it and annotated it, and I was obsessed with it.
I'm gonna try to read those. I tried to do the audiobook of Twisted Love is the first one, right?
Yeah.
So I done the audiobook. Oh my god. I couldn't. I turned it off. I could not finish it. And it wasn't the story. It was a narrator voice that I was just cringing out to.
Yeah, I feel that. There have been a lot of books that I've tried to listen to thinking that it'll be more interesting, but I can't do it.
No. It was no. I'm gonna definitely try to read them, like read the physical book, but not the audio. Like it made me like put such a bad taste in my mouth, and I really had to like reflect back on it because I mean I like reading romance. I like reading spicy scenes. I just recently got into dark romance, so I really think it was just because I went from well, honestly, because I started to try to listen to her book right when I started to get back into reading. Because I used to read a lot when I was younger, and then like life. I had 5 children in survival mode. I didn't have time to read up until like everyone else. The last couple of years, everyone started reading again. Um, so I went from reading, like YA books to I dived into Twisted Love, and it was just like a big culture shock for me. So I think that's also why I couldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
But I feel like now that I'm a little bit more seasoned, I could probably totally listen to it as well. So I'm going to give them another try. So I'm glad to hear that you do love them.
Yeah, I mean, those books are amazing. I think if I read them now, I don't think they would hit the same because I've read a lot of messed up stuff since then.
Yeah.
But at the time, they were amazing, and I will always like give them credit where credit is due. They are good books.
Mm-hmm.
I am sad to say that It Ends With Us was the book that got me back into reading. before, like after years and years of not reading. Because as a kid, we had like a Nook,
Yeah.
one of those, the little off-brand Kindles,
Mm.
and we shared it like as a family.
Wow.
I would get into trouble for taking it to school with me. And my mom would be like, if someone's going to steal that, you can't take that to school. You're not learning. I was like, girl, I'm reading. Leave me alone. And I would do it every day. And I would get in trouble every day.
Aw. Well, I mean, It Ends With Us wasn't a bad. I liked that story.
I liked it. There's just been so much like media drama surrounding her that now I feel like terrified to tell people that was the book.
I know, but I feel like there's always media drama around Colleen Hoover, but it's almost like people love to hate her and still read her book. So I feel like you're fine.
100%. I still went and saw the movie.
It took me a long time to actually even go see the movie because of the Blake Lively stuff. Like I thought that was terrible, how rude she was acting, and like
Exactly.
videos of her with the interviewer was actually really heartbreaking. I felt secondhand embarrassment.
It was hard to watch for sure.
Yes, but I was glad that I seen the movie, and like maybe 1/3 to even like halfway through the movie, I actually didn't like it
Why?
until like the closer to the ending, and it just kind of like getting the whole picture of the show. I actually ended up really enjoying the movie.
I liked the movie. There was parts though, because I told my husband about the book and he went to go see it with me.
Mhm.
And there are parts of it where whenever he hurts her, it looks accidental in the first half.
Yes.
And my husband was like, y'all all hate this man. He didn't do anything. And then later it shows that like it was her perception of it was twisted. But the whole first half of the movie, I was like, I don't know why it looks like that. That's not what happened.
And that's how exactly my thoughts when I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually shameful for people who do really go to domestic violence.
No, I think they did the perspective of it really well because with it not looking like his fault in the beginning, that's how it always starts. There's always an excuse, a reason.
Yes.
And then her realization at the end, I did like how they kind of did that and showed like how the of it changes to what it really is.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's why the ending totally shifts my perspective. And I love the movie because they did interpret that exactly how people that go through domestic violence feel. Like that's exactly what they go through. Excuse me, my voice is all crackly. I think I have allergies.
Same.
All right. Do you tend to read a lot?
I think I read more than the average person.
Nice, I love it.
But there are still a lot of book talk people who could outread me any day.
Do you think you're a fast reader?
My husband does. I don't think I am. I do the thing we did in elementary school with my bookmark where I go line by line.
Oh, does it help you?
It helps a lot. It helps me focus, and it also helps me not spoil the book for myself.
I hate that, yeah.
But my Kindle, whenever I read on my Kindle, I feel like I read a lot faster than I do a physical book, which is words. So I don't know how, but
I know. I feel like everyone says that. I feel that way too. I actually, people are gonna totally hate me for this, but I do prefer reading on my Kindle than I do a physical book. One of the reasons is my daughter constantly destroys my books.
Yeah.
And I'll probably just read faster. I cannot have any physical books. And when I have them, somehow she gets them. She's 3, and she just messes them up. So I put all my books in my storage.
Oh no.
And, yeah. So I'm hopefully by next year she'll understand not to demolish them and I can bring them back out. But I'm not kidding you that I went this whole year of 2024 and I have not bought a single physical book. at all, which is crazy.
I've been really heavy into special editions lately,
I know, they're so beautiful.
and I've been getting like one a week for a while, and I love it. That's my limit, is one a week. I can get one a week.
There you go. They are beautiful.
So good. They're so pretty.
Mm-hmm. They are beautiful.
But my dogs have this weird obsession. Our bookshelf is like on the floor, but it goes up pretty high. I think it's almost 6 feet tall.
Mm.
My dog has this obsession with the pages. I guess it's the texture. She likes to lick the pages. So I have to like watch her and be like, no, don't do that. Don't do it. Stay away from the books. Because she'll just go up and lick the pages. And I don't get it.
Oh, yeah. My daughter grips the sleeves of the books.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, because I was doing like maybe like the end of last year, I was doing the book of the month. I actually just started, so I lied you. I just started this month, November. I finally got my book of the month. I haven't done that all this year. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
How do you think you get good books with book of the month?
So this is like the third or fourth box I've ever done for book of the month.
Mm-hmm.
What I can say is I started it around this time last year, and I got What the River Knows by Isabella. I forgot how to pronounce her last name. That's how I got back into reading, was from starting that book, because I'd done the $5 when you first started to get a book for $5. I think it's good. I don't know. Maybe I'll give you a better review after a couple of months.
Okay, yeah. My friend has book of the month, but I didn't know if it would be worth it, like if the books were good or if they were just sending like, I don't know, old books that no one wants anymore.
No, it's not random books. So most of the time it's like newer authors who were just releasing. So when I got What the River Knows, she was a little bit more new. So this month I got the what's it called? Shoot, I'll tell you. This book also released, I want to say this month. It is called and I've been waiting for this book too for a while. It's called The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. I believe this is more of a fantasy book. The cover is like super, super cute. But I remember watching some videos that this book was supposed to be released. So I was waiting. It was on my TBR. And just so happened when I done a book of a month this month, her book was released. So that was an option. So you get to pick between so many different books based off of like what type of genre you would like too. So they do give you a variety, but it's not like old books. It's always something a little bit new.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So though out of all the book of months I have, only one. Well, I haven't read this one yet that I got, and then the very last one I got last year. I wanted to read it, but I just actually it's in the storage and I never got a chance to. But I got that unremarkable something June. I forgot what it's called. That was like a popular book whenever it was in the book of the month. So I got that, but I didn't end up getting a chance to read it. But I don't feel like you'll be upset with the options. And then they do give you a option to add on more books at a discounted price.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then like it is pretty cool. Then when you're in there for so many months, like your tier raises up and they offer you like special perks and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know they did that.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. And I think so. They let me get back on because I wasn't on all of this year. So they let me resubscribe for $10. So I got the Teller of Small Fortunes for $10, but I believe it's $18 a month.
Okay, that's not bad.
Not bad because you get a hardcover as well. But that was my problem. That's initially what I was telling you, is that I was getting those Book of the Month, and my daughter kept ripping the dust jackets. So like I have What the River Knows, and I love the cover, but the thing with the Book of the Month is the books are bare after you take the cover off. Like there's nothing on the actual front of the book if you don't.
Um,
Yeah. So they're definitely different books than you would get in the store.
mhm.
They're branded with the Book of the Month logo and whatever. They're
Oh,
still fun with it. Hmm.
I might have to pay for that.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's not that, the price wise is still pretty doable. Like I always want to try to do like the fairy loot, but I mean it's like super expensive.
Yeah, I wanted whenever they came out with the Twisted series
Hmm.
one, I wanted them so bad.
It was pricey.
I don't remember what it was. I think I just missed I think
Would
I
have been
missed getting
out.
them.
Yeah. So far, when I looked on their website just a few days ago, because I have I have some kind of disorder. But I reinstated my Book of the Month subscription, so now I'm looking for other book subscriptions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I checked out Fairloo. It's like $60.
Oh Lord, but I bet those books are gorgeous.
The books are beautiful, and you get a lot of stuff in the box, so it kind of is worth it. It's just a little bit out of my budget right now,
Yeah.
but you get a lot of stuff in there. I mean, it's definitely prettier than Book of the Month, but maybe one day we'll try them out.
Hopefully.
Um, so, what is your favorite book, or what was your favorite read this year?
This year, hands down, The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen
I wanted to read that. It's good.
is the best book I've read all year. Easily
Mm,
made my top 5 of all
really?
time.
I'll probably have to get that in this year.
It is amazing. I met her at her signing at
Nice.
my local Barnes and Noble,
Mm,
and she is the sweetest person to ever live.
well, oh, that's cool. What
But
was
no,
the?
book is amazing.
That's a dark romance book, or no?
Um, I wouldn't even qualify it as like romance because the slow burn is so slow burn.
Oh.
But it's kind of like if you mixed Percy Jackson and the Hunger Games.
Oh, yes, yes. I heard people saying that about that. Oh, really?
It's so good.
Mm, well, I'll have to look into that. I have so many books on my TBR that it's like a joke. It really is. I know I'm not going to get through all of them before I die. But I keep getting arc reads. I don't know. I love reading arcs. I love reading indie author books because I feel like the stories are they're always unmatched compared to a traditionally published author.
Yeah, I feel like there's a sort of restraint to traditional publishing
Mm-hmm.
in what you can say and how much you can say and what the plot line looks like. I feel like with indie publishing, you really can just do what you want to the fullest extent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you from the beginning choose to be a self-publisher, or did you ever think about being a traditional published?
I think the only time I would consider the traditional publishing route would probably be for the romantasy, just so
Mm-hmm.
that it has its best chance as far as marketing goes.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Crooked River series, that will always be mine.
Right. That's cute. I love it. Can you tell us a little bit about your romantasy book?
Yeah, so it exists in a completely made up world
Of course.
um, where there has been years of a civil war within the kingdom, and they
Mm-hmm.
have finally the rebels, the revolution they have finally figured out how to get in close and finish the job.
Mhm.
And so the Prince of the Revolution goes undercover to
Oh.
trick and murder the princess, who is currently awaiting a husband to become queen, because we love a good patriarchy.
Mhm.
And his whole mission is to trick her into falling in love with him and then steal the throne out from under her.
Mm.
But it might not work.
Oh.
And that's as much as I can give.
Do you plan for this romantasy to be a series?
That's the plan. Each book is based on one of the 7 deadly sins.
Nice.
Yeah, so each of the titles will be based on the sin that book is based on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it should be around 7 books.
Oh my gosh.
It's a big leap. It's a big goal, but the plans that I have for this book are insane.
Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you.
So good luck on your writing, and I hope that is out soon with great success.
The plan is for the first one in that series to be out hopefully January of 2026.
Okay.
There's a whole plan of like releases for the next a little over a year. But I'm very excited for that series.
Mhm. That sounds pretty interesting. I'm excited too, actually.
I definitely think that one's going to be the best. I think that one's probably going to be like my favorite to write.
Right.
I'm just so excited to explore like the world that I've built in my head,
Because
because it's crazy. I feel like I'm taking what people know about like mythological and fantastical creatures and manipulating it, if that makes sense.
And
And a lot of it is based on like Nordic myths.
So did you do like research before you started writing, or did you just kind of like?
I did a lot of research on Nordic myths and Nordic creatures and what they are described as within that like frame. And then I also looked a lot into D&D. And that helped. But looking at it, I was like, okay, I like how they look. I hate how they're described. So we're just going to mix them.
Nice.
So I know there will be some people out there who read the book and be like, well, elves don't do this and orcs don't do that. Well, it's my book and here they do.
Exactly. That's the amazing part of writing your own story, especially a fantasy one.
Exactly. I'm very, very excited. I don't think my fae are the same as like Akatar.
Oh, good. I really like them.
I am very excited for them.
Good. Nice. I'm one of those people who I am trying to be a super fan of Akatar, but it's not happening.
I stopped after the first 3 because I was like, oh, okay, well, the story's over now.
Like I'm gonna give it one more try because I've only done the audiobooks of it, and the only reason why is because I just didn't really want to read the books. So the conclusion was like, all right, I'll do that audio version. I'll get through it. I listen on like 2 times speed anyways. Let me see the hype. I could not pay attention for the life of me. It wasn't grabbing my attention at all. So like I finished the first book and I had no idea what the hell was going on in that book. Like I still don't really know.
The first is like army crawling through the mud. Like you really have to like torture yourself through the first one to get to the good parts.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first one and I was like, I don't understand how people like this.
I know. I want to be a super fan because I love fantasy and romantasy. but there's something about it. Just I don't know. I can't get on board. I like the Court of Mist and Fury, even though I'm still confused. I don't really understand the entire story of this, you know, A Court of Thorns and Roses world. I did enjoy the second book. I got to the Frost and Starlight. I still have the Silver Flames one, but I decided I'm just gonna start over sometimes next year and sit down and actually give the book a shot. I've done the dramatized versions. The dramatized versions are like they really the graphic audio, they really say it's like a movie in your ear.
Yeah.
They're amazing, but I just couldn't pay attention to the story. I don't know. So I hear a lot that what's the other series called? The Throne of Glass.
hmm
I hear a lot of people say that those ones are better, but I've never read those either.
I haven't even picked them up. To me,
Yeah,
really intimidating.
it is intimidating. Yes. Mm-mm. Maybe one day, but I'm always this person. All of my life since I was a little kid, I always hop on the trend after it's not trending anymore. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Always that person. And I promise you, once everyone is done and over with Akatar, I'm gonna pick up those books and I'm gonna love them. You know,
Why are we not talking about this anymore?
exactly. I don't know. All of my life, I've always been that person. I'm always, for some reason, a little delayed.
And
I don't know. It's funny. What type of books do you genuinely like to read, or do you like kind of like all genres?
I feel like I bounce around a lot. I recently have gotten into like psychological thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
So I like those. I had a dark romance phase. I
Mm-hmm.
had a cute and fluffy romance phase. I definitely had a hockey romance phase.
Yeah.
That one was heavy. But I think my favorite is probably like science fiction-y dystopian romance. Like I'm reading the Shatter Me series right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Is it really?
It's so good. I don't know why I did not read this book for such a long time. It is so good.
Really? I'm gonna have to. And those are on my TBR too. I haven't got around to it.
And so I only read it because my Barnes and Noble had a special edition of it, and I was like, "Ooh, I want it."
Mm. All right, well, that's good.
If it's pretty, I'll read it.
Yes, I am definitely one of those people who picks up a book. I don't judge a book by its cover, but I will definitely buy a book based off of its cover.
And see, I feel like everyone inherently judges a book off its cover because the cover is what's meant to pull you in.
It does catch your eye. It really does.
And I will shamelessly judge a book by its cover. I'll be like, that book looks like it would break my heart, or that book looks like it will get dusty on my shelf.
Cover is super important. Oh, that's funny. All right, friend. Do you have any? We're gonna get to a little part of the podcast where we talk about you, not your writing process. We talk about you as a person.
Okay.
So my first question for you is, do you have any hobbies or interests outside of writing? I know you know reading is one of them.
I play guitar sometimes. I have
Oh, nice.
not picked it up in a while.
Mhm.
And I love Bob's Burgers.
Oh yeah.
I could watch Bob's Burgers every second of every day on my deathbed. Like
I love it.
it's
So
an obsession.
that was going to be one of my questions. Do you have a favorite TV show or a movie?
Um, that's a hard one. Ooh, I think my favorite movie
Mhm.
is my favorite movie is definitely Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I don't know why, but that one just hits for me.
Really? The Half Blood Prince?
Out of that whole series, that one is my favorite.
We was just watching. I mean, every time around this year, we watch all the Harry Potters.
Same.
It's like nostalgic. So I was just telling my husband for some reason, uh, the second one, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is always my favorite one. I don't know what it is. I just love that one.
I the actor did a really good job of playing Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah.
He did such a good job that he is intolerable to me.
I know.
I cannot, like, he did a very good job. The movie is good, but every time he speaks, I'm like, turn it off.
I know, he is cringy. I don't know. That one is always a favorite of mine, even when I was a kid for some reason. This is one of my favorite ones. All right. What's a fun or surprising fact about you that most people don't know?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I don't know. Fun or surprising fact. I'm trying to think of something like fun or surprising that I do. I am like terrified of any kind of roller coaster, like even the baby roller coasters. My husband put me on the teacups and I sobbed. It was horrible.
Really?
Yes. I don't know what it is. I think it's like a subconscious like control thing, but I can't do it. Like I tried to get off the carousel and he wouldn't let me. And he was like, you have to do this. It's literally just the carousel.
So just like rides in general.
Yes, I can't do it. He is like the ultimate thrill seeker, like doing the slingshot and going on like the Fury at Carowinds, which is like the tallest or fastest coaster on the East Coast. And it's I'm completely the opposite. I'm like, I will get a funnel cake and hold your bags. Have fun.
Yeah, funny.
I can't do it. It's terrifying to me. I don't know how anybody can.
I feel like when I was younger too, I was definitely scared. Like I was that kid. I think I was like 9, and it's just honestly very embarrassing. I don't even know why I'm telling you this now. But I was 9 years old. We go to Disney World. I cried the entire way, 9 years old, being in Disney World, and we went to all 4 parks. Every picture, every video, there's literal tears in my eyes from the fear that I had in Disney World.
And see, same, like that's okay. We went for our honeymoon. Well, it was kind of our honeymoon. It was also a family vacation. We went to Universal so that we could go to Harry Potter World, and then we also went to Disney. And at Universal, they had got on like the Kong ride.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm not getting on that. And then everyone had convinced me. They were like, it's just like a bumpy bus ride. Like, it's fine. It's nothing. And I got on and I was like, I can't do it. Get me off. And I'm like crying and panicking. And my mother-in-law just looks at me and she just, Elisabeth. And every tear stopped. And I was like, I have to be strong now. She knows that just saying my name like that, and I'm done with the tears.
That's funny. I'm definitely not like that anymore. Like I still won't go on big roller coasters, but I do love me some Disney now.
Oh, I love Disney. You cannot pay me enough money to get me out of Disney. Like I love the little parade. Every time that we have gone, I have gotten Flynn Rider to like look and wave and smile at me. And I fangirl. Like I have told my husband, like that is my baby daddy. I hope that you guys can co-parent. I love him.
That is my daughter's favorite too, Flynn Rider.
He's perfect. There's like nothing wrong with that man. If there is no one on this earth that loves Flynn Rider, I am dead.
You know what it is? Like Flynn Rider is like, I guess like the kid version of morally great characters that we love in stories.
No, really. And he like something about the way that he just calls her sunshine or Blondie. Like, God, I love that man. I love that little drawing. They drew him really well.
I know his personality is really good.
It is. He's so funny. And like I am obsessed with Tangled. I watched the movie. I watched the Disney short after the movie of their wedding. I watched Tangled Before, Ever After, and Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, all 3 seasons.
Really?
And he don't stop. Flynn Rider has been putting in work.
That's too good.
He earned his paycheck.
Oh, that's funny. For the longest time growing up, Ariel has always been my favorite, but I feel like during the last, I want to say maybe, probably since Tangled came out, Rapunzel has been my favorite princess.
She's amazing. You can't there's nothing that girl can't do.
It is. It's such a good story. I feel like we could watch it a million times and it just never gets old, right?
Really?
Mm-hmm. I took my daughter to like this little event they were having locally. It was like essentially like a kids princess party, and they were having a lot of princesses there. So I took her because we went to Disneyland the year before, and she got to see no princesses for some reason. There was like nowhere to be found. It was like crazy. So she didn't see any princesses. So I took her to that so she could see all the princesses. And my daughter's like, she thinks she's a princess. That's just bottom.
She is. She's entirely right.
She's a princess. Like she wakes up in the morning, I have to tell her every morning, "Good morning, princess." If not, she says it for herself. She's very much like Rapunzel.
I love that for her.
Yes. So I take her to this event and has all the princesses there, and they also have some princes. So we could walk in. She totally beelines for Rapunzel and Flynn Rider. And she's still with them the entire time. Like there's other kids now that want to see Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, but she took up all of their attention, cried every time they left. And they're just like young, like kids from their high school that came to the event to dress up like fairy tales. So they eventually just ignored all the other kids, which was terrible, and followed my daughter around the whole event, played every activity with her, colored, painted, and makeup, pictures. Like this little kid literally gave my daughter the time of her life that she would have never experienced going to Disneyland.
That's for one, that's so sweet. For two, she does not think she's a princess. At this point, she knows she's a princess.
knows. But it was hilarious how the two little kids just followed her around. They end up like following us on Instagram. They posted the videos, and it was like just the funniest thing ever. How now my daughter knows he's not just Flynn Rider. She knows he's Eugene for some reason. So every time you walk away, no, Eugene.
The man that he is.
Yes, it was hilarious. So my daughter had her first crush she was 2 at the time.
No, me and her are in the same boat.
It was hilarious. And then like she's at this table, she's painting with Flynn Rider. Like he finally got away for a little bit, and then he sees Penelope sitting down, so he takes it upon himself to come sit by her while she's painting, and she just, had her face lit up. So her and Flynn Rider's painting. My husband comes, it's time for him to pick us up. So like he comes and he peers over my daughter, her name's Penelope, and like looks down at her from like she's sitting down, and he's like, leaning on top of her and looking down. So she looks up, she sees her father's face. The scream that my daughter did, oh my God, I wish I recorded it. She started crying. She almost like she felt embarrassed that her father messed up her date. That's how she acted.
No, really?
Yes.
Why would he do that to her?
Yes, that's exactly what she thought. She's crying, no, go away.
She's falling in love, sir. Back off.
Yes. And like she knew that we do some fun and she sees dad. That means the fun's over because now we're going home because he's our driver. It was hilarious.
That poor girl. I've never wanted to be a 2-year-old more in my life, though.
I know. Like really, like
Flynn Rider. Oh my God.
I know, like because I went with some friends and like we're just watching Penelope with Flynn Rider. I mean, she loved it. Rapunzel, but I mean, really, her main focus was Flynn Rider the whole way through. So like, my friends are laughing, and like I'm taking pictures, and I'm like, this is so cute. I'm capturing my daughter's first date. It was
And
hilarious.
I hope that she looks back on those pictures and sees you for the hero that you are for letting her have that.
It was hilarious, but it was unforgettable moment. It really was.
The man that he is, the man that Flynn Rider is.
Oh, it was hilarious. All right, friend. Would you consider yourself a morning person or a night owl?
Normally a morning person, but my
Mhm.
husband works night shift, so I've been like on the night shift schedule with him.
Oh, that's nice.
But I'm definitely more of a morning person. I like doing day things during daytime because at nighttime I feel like everything's so quiet and creepy.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I feel like I'm more productive in the morning.
Same. And like a
Mhm.
good cup of coffee, you're good to go.
Yes. For some reason, maybe it's because like I'm doing so much, but I feel like at night I might want to turn my brain off. I want to do something where I don't have to think, like reading.
Like,
hmm Do you have a song or an artist that you like to listen to repeatedly?
um, as basic as it is, Taylor Swift.
Of course, yeah. What's your favorite song?
Oh, that's hard. See, it it changes based on my mood,
Yeah, I don't think no one really has like a favorite Taylor Swift song.
because they're all just so good. But I will say that Within Fields and Flowers was in like the plot of it was inspired by her song Peter.
Oh, really?
Yep. And it is
Oh,
on
good.
the Spotify playlist for the book.
Oh, good. You have a playlist. I love when people make playlists for their stories.
I like when the author makes them. Like I
Yes.
love the ones that like readers make, but I love when the author makes them because then you really know like this is the feeling.
And it's such a cool concept that people came up with now. I feel like more and more authors do that.
Yeah, I love it. The first one that I saw it in was I think Icebreaker.
hmm Yes.
Um, but it for me. Peter just kind of matched the whole point of my book and the whole point of Dallas and Charlotte. There was no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's cute. Did you plan out your TBR for December yet?
No, I have not. Whenever I make TBRs, I get really stressed out.
You just
So
read on the fly.
yeah, I just kind of go like one book at a time and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this one. But I'm only on book 2 of the Shatter Me series, and that book is like a collection of like 11 books and novellas. So I have a feeling that I will be reading that all throughout December.
Oh, really? You don't want to read any Christmas books?
Oh, I do want to read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas.
Oh, yes. We're reading that on starting December 1st for book club. If you want to join.
Oh, that would be fun.
I have a book club on Fable. There's not that many people in there, but I mean, it's mostly me, my sister, my other sister. If you want to join, we are starting that.
Heck yeah. I would love to.
Yeah, we would love to have you. Uh, this will be my first time reading like a holiday book during December.
I read a couple last year, and Maren Moore has just nailed it completely with her Christmas books.
Really?
The Jingle Wars was really good. Tangled and Tinsel was very smutty. There was not a lot of plot, but it was very smutty.
I'm gonna try to read more than one book, Christmas book in December. But you know, my problem is that when I plan, I guess I don't really plan TBRs either, because when I do plan them, somehow I read like a sloth,
Yeah.
and then I don't get through none of the books on my TBR and end up reading one book in a month.
So I feel like I'm not reading something because I want to read it. I'm reading it because I have to.
Yes, and it does take the fun out of it. Like that is my goal for 2025 is I'm going to have more patience on myself with reading because everybody on social media is all about how many books you read. Like people are reading like 8 and 10, 12 books in 1 month. I'm like, I'm barely getting through 2 and 1 audiobook.
Yeah, that's how it feels. I mean, last July, not
Mhm.
like July of 2023, I
Mhm.
read I think 14 books.
Oh,
But now I also feel like when I read those books, I feel like I didn't really read them. I feel like I
yeah.
read the words that were on the page, but I didn't. Reading is not about how fast you can get through a book.
Mhm.
It's not about, oh, I read this many books this year. For me,
Mhm.
reading is the book.
Mhm. I agree. I
And I
really do agree with
think
that.
that stigma of like speed reading has been pushed so much.
Mhm. Yep. And I mean, it is true because I noticed that when I do read uh faster, because there are times that I could read faster, I have no idea what just happened. I waste my time and I will go back and read it. But there are times where I'm loving a book so much that I will smash through it in whatever it is, 2 days, 3 days, which is kind of fast for me. Because usually takes me like a couple of weeks.
Exactly. And that for me, that was Falling for Whiskey by Brittany Nicole, I think her name is.
Ooh.
Um, I bought her hardcover omnibus at Lust in the Low Country last year.
Mhm.
Um, and that book was like 500 pages, and I read it in less than 2 days. And me and that
Mhm.
book were attached at the hip.
Mhm. I
It was
love those
so
times.
good.
I love those stories when you just can't get enough and you don't realize that you're going through so many pages.
Exactly. I recently read Reckless by Elsie Silver,
I want to
and
read that.
um, it was very hard for me to get into at first. I was like, I don't want to read this book. It was recommended.
Mhm.
Um, but once I got into it, Theo
It's good.
Silva, the man he is,
Oh,
oh my God, he's amazing. I
I'm
could
gonna
I could talk to anyone about that man.
really. That is actually one of my plans for the New Year's. I do want to read Elsie Silver books because I hear so many good things about them.
And that's the only one that I read of hers.
Really.
But it's so good. And like honestly, the plot is good. It's great.
Mhm.
The plot is great. I don't care in the slightest about the female main character. I don't care about her. Um,
Mhm.
I don't care about her baby. I care about Theo Silva and
Mhm.
the man he is. She could write an entire book just about Theo Silva and I would read it.
Wow, that's pretty good.
He is the book boyfriend of all book boyfriends. He's just funny.
Mm.
He's my type of person. He's just funny.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He's not. I think that's why I don't like the mafia books because I can't take anything they say seriously.
yeah.
But Theo Silva is just funny as hell. I would audibly laugh reading that book.
Really.
He's hilarious.
I'm gonna have to bump that up my list then because I do want to read that. I actually did read my first mafia thriller by an author named James Michael. It was an arc read. I done an interview with him too. I was actually surprised that I enjoyed that book. I really did not think I was gonna finish it. And girl, let me tell you, I was sweating because I thought like, oh my god, this person has so much hope. They're coming on my podcast. I'm gonna read this book. How am I gonna read it? But when I started, I actually could not put the book down.
I
Like
love that.
I was so surprised. It's not like your typical like stuff you know about mafia, which yeah, it has it, but like the way he crafts his characters and gives them these personalities where you do laugh, you cry, and you feel the suspense. The characters are so like differently written. Like they're not like the typical stereotype of mafia, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it and I recommend it if you want to try a mafia book. So it was really
It is.
good.
I might have to try that one. I think the only type of like mafia book that I read was Den of Vipers.
Mm, I never heard
And
that
it wasn't very mafia-y.
one. Oh, really?
But I loved it. I literally have a tattoo of a snake with red eyes for
Oh,
Den of
nice.
Vipers. Name is
Yeah.
Diesel.
Yeah. Well, look into the one. His name's James Michaels. His book is called The Melody of Shattered Gold, and I'm pretty certain it's on KU. But it was like really good. But then I found out that this was like a spin-off from a side character in a different book, which I forgot the name of that book. So there essentially is a main story where the character first shows up, and then I guess because I mean the character in the book that I'm talking about, I loved him so much. Like his personality was absolutely amazing. My favorite character in the entire book. And then James was telling me how he crafted that story based off a side character in one of his other books. I'm like, well, he totally deserved his own story because he was such a truly well-developed character. So I do
I
recommend it.
like
Yeah, it was a good read. Really good.
check it out.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I do have to say, though, I've been speaking with a lot of authors once a week, sometimes twice a week. You and maybe like two other people are the only ones that are actually read. All the other authors, no, I was actually really surprised to learn that most authors don't do a lot of reading.
That's
Like
terrifying.
I know, like I was so surprised. I did not expect that at all.
That's genuinely terrifying because I think I think my first like adult interest to writing was reading a book, or it was two books in specific, and I got to the ending and I was like, for one, that was predictable. For two, that would never happen in real life. And I was kind of like tired of authors just giving a happy ending so that there's a happy ending.
Right?
There's not always a happy ending.
Yep, it is true. Well, no, you know why? Most of them don't really. I can't speak for every author, but I know like a lot of the ones I've been speaking with, they don't really read that much. Like they do read, but definitely it's not like their main hobby, I guess you could say.
That's kind of scary to me.
Weird. Like I was like totally blindsided. Like I did not going into this creating this podcast. I did not expect at all. I actually thought that okay, I'm going to be talking to all these authors and people who genuinely love reading, and it's like they love writing, but it's almost like they're writing so much that they don't have time to read. I don't know, but I was really surprised.
I will say I like, as much as I like writing my books, and I feel like they have a piece of my heart in them, especially book 2 in the Crooked River is like my entire heart and soul. I will never read them.
Like to sit down and actually read the book, yeah.
And a lot of people say like if you want to self-edit, read your book out loud, no, I will pay someone to edit my book. I will get somebody to edit my book. I refuse to like go back. I try to look through them to look for quotes and stuff like that to post on TikTok and like market the book. And I can't do it. I physically cannot do it.
Is it because like you feel like you've been through it already, that you're just done with it, like reading any other book?
Kind of, yeah. And it's also like reading some of the scenes, it is perfect book boyfriend material, but it is also knowing it came from me is like cringy.
Oh yeah, I can see
I'm
that.
like especially I think with the second book is going to be really bad because those two characters are giving me a run for my money, and I can't read it. I tried to read the first book when I got my first proof of it. I tried to sit down and I couldn't. And I think it also comes from like I already wrote the book, so I'm bored with the story. I know what happens.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Because I mean, I've been an inspiring writer since I was like 16, but I never wrote anything. I always trash stuff. But like that's just always what I thought about, like when it comes to the editing, and maybe that's why I never really write, is because I think about everything that comes with it after you write your story, and I don't want to do that. So that's actually kind of refreshing to know that you didn't go over the book, because I think about that. Like once I write the story, I don't care to read it again. Since I wrote it, I lived it, I'm done. So that's pretty helpful to hear.
Yeah, like I know what the ending is. I know the plot. what is
Right.
the point of me sitting down and reading this book where I know
Yeah.
exactly what happens
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
could?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I would imagine I would feel that way too. But there is some people that fully, write, edit, proofread. They do it all on their own.
Yeah.
And there's this one girl. She was the one I was talking about earlier. She wrote "Away with Darkness."
Hmm.
Let me get her name for you. Hold on. I don't know why I can't find her name. Well, anyways, she was a one-man show. She wrote it, proofreaded it, edited it, and done it all totally on her own, even designed her cover by herself.
Yeah.
Like I was like totally shocked. How did she do that and not have burnout? Like I would totally feel burnt out.
I think per project, there's a lot of excitement and like it comes in waves. But I think the burnout starts once it's done. Like, if
Yes.
I had to go back and do anything to the actual book now, it would feel like a chore. Because I did scrap the entire original cover of Within Fields and Flowers.
Did you create design the cover?
The second one, yeah. The first one I paid an artist, and
nice.
she did a great job. I just didn't think what I had asked for had fit the bill for the book, and it would look odd with the three of them sitting on the shelf next to each other.
Oh, I see.
So I have proofs like with the original cover on it, but the pre-orders that came in and everything else, they get the second cover, which I like a lot better. It's a lot more cohesive to a series, and it's easier to make like a special edition of.
Oh, nice. That is one thing that I found out too, is that whenever, like that James Michael, who wrote that Mafia book I told you about, he has an editor, but he still has to edit it himself.
Yeah, that's what I did. My editor, I had her go through and edit it, and then I went through, and instead of just using the edited version she gave me, I went through every single edit, as even like as small as a comma or a delete space or whatever. I went through every single one throughout the entire book and did them myself on my document, because there's some stuff you're not always going to like what your editor has to say.
Okay.
Like she didn't want my characters cursing.
Why?
I don't know. Like she didn't want my character calling another one an ass. She wanted her to call him a jerk.
Oh.
No, because the book is heavily rooted in the South. There's a lot of Southern lingo. And if I'm mad at somebody, I'm going to call them an ass. I'm not going to call them a jerk.
Exactly.
So I went through, and I think a lot of it was also like language translation, like stuff that we say doesn't register or hit the same for people who have never heard the lingo before. So there were some of them that I changed and kind of generalized, but I tried to keep the tone there.
Right. Nice. Well, I'm excited to read your book.
Thank you.
Yeah. And where can we purchase your book?
My book is out on Kindle Unlimited, on Amazon, and signed copies and prints and bookmarks are available on my website.
Really? Oh, that's nice.
I think we're out of stock on the website right now, which is
that's good.
And there should be more stock probably next week, but it's on Kindle Unlimited and Amazon.
Nice. Okay, good. Well, Elizabeth, congratulations on your debut novel, and definitely hope I can't wait to see more of your work. And I'm definitely going to read your book, and I'll let you know my thoughts. I'm super excited.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy it.
Yes, I feel I will. The story sounds really good. So I do want to thank you for coming on the show. I really had a blast talking with you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Well, you take care, and I will hope to chat with you again soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Bookish Spell. I hope you enjoyed our magical bookish journey together. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to leave a review. It really helps. I'll be back next Wednesday with more enchanting stories and author insights. Until next time, keep the magic alive in your hearts and on your bookshelves.